what Indian schools can do to prepare the student. And I'm going to be speaking to you several times this morning. But in this first instance, I'd like you to just be open to the idea that it really could be possible for all of you to study at college in the United States. As crazy as an idea as that might be. When I asked you earlier how many of you wanted to study in the United States, nobody put their hand up. And I don't know whether you were being shy or whether it really hasn't occurred to you. But Brooklyn Poly, NYU Poly, is one of 2,000 four-year colleges in the United States. And you've heard of some of these colleges, you've heard of the Ivy League, I know you've probably heard of Harvard, I know you've heard of Stanford, I know you've heard of MIT. But it's a really big world in terms of United States colleges, 2,000 of them. And so I would hope that one of the things you would leave this conference with is curiosity about trying to explore those four-year colleges in the United States and what you might study there. And there's a range of things you can study. You can study the sciences, which I know are very important in India, engineering, math, physics. But I also want to introduce some of you to the concept of the liberal arts, which may be a concept you haven't heard of. The liberal arts is studying things like English and humanities, creative writing, philosophy. And you may think that has no meaning to me. How could you do a job that has that in it unless I wanted to be a professor? Again, I'd like you to open your mind to the concept that the liberal arts can help make you a better student in the world, a better citizen, and can help you in whatever job you do in terms of learning how to ask questions, learning how to learn. And my last point would be to educate yourselves about what it is that American colleges require when you apply. We have a standardized test called the SAT or the ACT. You should learn about it. They look very hard at your grades and how hard were the courses you took. And they look at something called the personal essay or the personal statement, which is, I know, something that may not be familiar to you at all. Writing stories about yourself so they can get to know you. So the question is, what can you do to prepare? Educate yourselves about the big world of American education. One big difference with some of your schools is that there are not test score cutoffs for the most part. You do not necessarily have to have a certain SAT score to get in, and if you don't have it, you don't get in. Now, there is a certain reality to it. If you look on the website of, say, a book called The Fiske Guide to Colleges, F-I-S-K-E, they will show you sort of the median or average SAT scores. And you're going to have scores that are probably in that ballpark to be considered, but not necessarily a cutoff. So it's a difference. But my larger point to you is that to get into American colleges and universities, there's sort of a big, I'm going to use the word, sort of a mess of factors that are involved. And they're all sort of stewed together like a big soup. And it doesn't, no one factor necessarily outweighs all the others. You have your test scores. More than anything, they want to see that you took hard classes at your school, some of the hardest classes that your school offered. They call that rigor, and they want to see good grades in those classes. But they also put a lot of stock in reference letters that your teachers and your counselor will write. So be very nice to your teachers, because they're going to write letters about you, and those letters are taken very seriously because it's assumed that they know you the best. So your counselor is here. Be nice to her. But also the last point I'll mention is your personal essay. And we're going to talk more, I'll have other times to talk to you today. But personal essay, I know this is something you don't necessarily have to do here. It's not a recitation of your resume. It's a chance for you to come alive as a person to the person who's going to read it. What would you want them to know about you? What experiences have you had that have changed you or made you grow? It sounds sort of crazy that that's a factor in whether they choose you for their college, but they want to get to know you, and the essay is a way for them to get to know you. So that's one of the factors.